So we had the Canva development discussion, and oh boy, I'm just so happy to say I was thrilled to see everything that was being said in that. And basically, it is surprising and shocking to see that they are actually addressing most of the player-based concerns. And yeah, basically most of the stuff that we thought that was going to be affecting the game to some extent, some of the stuff that is affecting the game right now, it's just being addressed, and it's not always going to be perfect balancing in meta and main builds that are going to be meta. That is just step by step. We're taking things step by step, but I think that this is a list of huge changes that will very much are going to be welcomed by everyone. Now, one thing that has to be clarified before everything else is that most of these changes are not going to be immediate. They are not on a patch that was released yesterday or that is going to be released soon, but mostly they are things that they are promised that they are going to happen, and that how the world and the game is going to behave based on these things. And the very first one that I want to address, the very first one that I want to tackle is going to be dungeons. Dungeons nerfing and buffing has always been an issue, and the thing is that there was really not an incentive for us to be doing nightmare dungeons, and at the end of the day we all ended up doing just running basic dungeons, because when you have the maths between kill time and time of travel between one dungeon to another, there are many factors that you need to have in mind before you actually level up. The main incentive for nightmare dungeons was improving your runes, and yes, that is a nice thing, but other than that, it's still just better to do basic dungeons. That is what we are doing. They promised that they were going to buff the nightmare dungeons. You are going to get more experience by doing the nightmare dungeons, but also a fast travel mechanic that is immediately going to take you to that next dungeon, meaning you can be running one after the next one, and it's just going to make the whole process that much more faster. Now, this plans are they do have the plans to be releasing all of this before season 1 begins, so it shouldn't be long before we actually start seeing these changes and before we can actually start doing nightmare dungeons as a viable means of leveling up your character. Now, renown. Oh boy, am I happy to see that they addressed this. There's still too much to say about renown, but there are some concerns that I personally had, that I know that the community had, and that they are just basically concerns that we were all very afraid of them. Basically, you have your main character. Many of us have been running this kind of things. We have our main character, we have running all of those Lilith altars, we have been running all of those dungeons, we have been running all of that renown, so that when we do use our next character, then everything is just going to be there, and we can just focus on ourselves on arming our character and leveling up our character and enjoying the rest of the game without having to go through the hassle of having to do everything else, the side quests, the dungeons, the Lilith altars, all of that. We were under the impression it was something that it was going to happen as per se, that the game was designed to be this way, that every new season you would have to go and get all of that back again. You have your Eternal Realm and you have your Seasonal Realms. Your Eternal Realms are going to have basically everything that the main character has. The Renown, the only thing that the rest of your character doesn't have, is just the experience. But the Paragon points, the skill points, and everything that you got from the Renown, that is on the rest of your characters, which is not something that was going to happen on the next season. And a new season, everything would be wiped out and you would have to start over again. And that is what had us all pissed off. Now, they did say that it is a promised thing. You are not going to have to go through the Lilith altars again. You are not going to have to explore all of the map again. The map is going to be completely explored for every single character that you do, provided that you did explore the entirety of the map with the main character. Now, the one thing that they are still deciding on how is it going to be changing, it's the renown on itself. Are they going to have the legendary aspects unlocked for seasonal characters, or the rest of the dungeons, or maybe the fortresses? There are some things that they do want for you to do with the seasonal characters, But at the end of the day, it is nice to see that at least when it comes to the hassle of doing those little chores that nobody, no, I can promise you that much. I was never going to do the Lilith altars back again. It's 160 of them. I did them once because I wanted those stats, but I was never going to do them again. So it's nice to see that you do not have to go through the hassle of doing all of that back again. Now, resistances. If you are a long-term Diablo player, then you know that resistances were a huge deal. Let's say, for example, Diablo 2, where you have several instances or several characters, several builds that would rely on being the best environment that they would level on different scenarios or different dungeons would be based on the resistances. Sometimes if you would be resistant to fire, you would do that one dungeon. If you were resistant to that something else, that or just running through the main campaign, there would be portions that would be harder for you based on your resistances. Resistances were a huge part of building a character in Diablo 2, not too much in Diablo 4. In Diablo 4, we actually use different means of damage resistance like healing or armor or barriers. We are using a whole lot of different stuff and nobody is paying attention to resistances, and resistances developers do want for them to be a big deal, so they are going to tweak a little bit more for the resistances and stat changes to be a little bit that more effective. They are also addressing the disconnection deaths of hardcore characters that are happening around the world, so that is something that they are going to address as well. There's going to be the scroll of escapes that you have in your inventory. They are going to be consumed when you disconnect, and they are basically going to make you invulnerable during those disconnections. So there are many things that they are doing. I hope that they do a little, at least give something to those persons that did suffer a death of a character because of a disconnection or server maintenance or stuff like that. That is not up to you, it is up to them, it is on them, but that is something nice to have in mind as well. And finally, I believe that the change that we all wanted for them to make, it's the inventory management, especially when it comes to gems. Now, once you reach the end game and you reach that final tier of your gems, you stop collecting them. It was that in mind that these gems that I have right here, the maximum tier is no longer going to be the maximum tier, and to upgrade to the next tier, you were going to have lots and lots and lots and lots of gems. That is a hassle because, as you can see, gems, if you were to have them in your inventory, they occupy almost the entirety of your inventory, which is nuts, dude. It really is nuts. I do not know who thought that it was a good idea to have these little things into your inventory, especially since we have so little space on our inventory, dude. We always have to be coming back to sell, to salvage, and whatnot. So what they are going to do is that they are going to change the stash of the gems for them to be here in the materials. And in your materials tab, they are going to also increase the currency that you are able to have, like for example of the materials that you have right here. It's right now 99999. It's a lot of people that they are completely full of that. I am not. I do not think that that is going to be a big issue. Me personally, that is just my personal opinion, but when it comes to gems, that is most definitely needed. Soon you will find the gems right here, although what it makes me a little bit to be on defense about this thing is that these changes are going to happen on Season 2. So we are still going to have to run through the entirety of Season 1 while having to deal with this crap that you see right here, which I do not know why do they not think that this is a major thing that needs to be changed ASAP. Beats me, dude. But at the end of the day, at least it is nice to see that they are going to address it at some point. Anyways, that was everything from me, guys. If you like the content, so liking the person, I appreciate it. No, I told you today, you're gorgeous and beautiful person. You're in the gorgeous and beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel, like the video before you close the door. Now listen, you goddamn gorgeous and beautiful people in the next one. Have a beautiful day and goodbye.